Okay, everybody, I love that song. I heard it first thanks to Art Bell on Coast to Coast when he was doing his Midnight at the Oasis show. And I was hooked on it ever since. So I don't normally play a song, but I thought I'm going to play a song tonight because tonight's going to be just a itty bitty bit of difference. I thought I had this light in better shape, but um, a little bit of difference. We're gonna focus because I had an experience this week, and this is also a fascinating topic. Um, some people even tie this topic in with Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and it all deals with the paranormal. So anyway, my name is Kelsey, Abnormal, Alabama, and guess what? There's Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
Hello. Good evening,
Okay, I'm gonna
everybody.
make sure I don't. So there he is, my haunted dolls, and let me get myself in the frame here. As you know, the theme of the show is a little bit different tonight because I had an interesting experience this week. Did you get a chance to look at that, Kevin?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Video
we're going to talk about
footage.
that. Huh?
The video footage. Yeah, I
Yeah,
watched it.
yeah. So that was kind of interesting, and I thought, well, Kevin's got like 99% of his haunted dolls and whatnot are kind of hidden. Uh, I'm not going to say why because he gets embarrassed when I talk about that. But bottom line is Kevin has you still got a contract on that house, I guess. Still working on that same
Yeah,
property.
still so far. Yeah.
And I tell you what, he's like the Beverly Hills or that other show that was on moving on up. Um, I saw pictures of the property, and I'm telling you what, he could have his own haunted forest there every year. It is a magnificent piece of property. I think he said the only downside was it with it was that he was going to live with his dad.
Yeah, my dad. And then there's a guest building in the back that my brother's going to stay in, hopefully temporarily. So
Okay.
it's
Well,
going to be pretty fun for a
when
while.
when your brother moves out, I may be looking for a place. All right. Okay. Everybody knows Kevin Kane. His website is myhauntedDolls.com. Kevin has written 11 books, and we'll be talking about. We'll promote some during the show, and of course, I had to hustle. Things really slowed down because the events have been canceled. There's nothing really going on. It's like a ghost town out there. No restaurants. I mean, you can do a drive-through, a curb service, but it's not just affecting us. Governor Ivey today put out a closed all non-essential businesses as of today. I guess you saw that. So
Yeah.
this is very no matter what you think is going on, what we do know is going on is that they're putting a stop to a lot of things. The next step will probably be that sheltering in place, and that means that you better not be caught just tooling around town.
Yeah.
And it's already happening in a lot of places. The numbers of people infected, according to the reports, is phenomenal. So what we're trying to do, or I'm trying to do, and Kevin's with me here, is that now that we're all home, let's entertain, right? Something to do.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. And of course, this is Kevin's favorite subject is anything that goes boo and and strange noises and disembodied voices and all this kind of stuff. I have had in my life different kind of experiences, which is inclusive of UFO experiences. Have you had any kind of UFO experience, Kevin?
Yeah, I told about one, I guess earlier this year. No, was the last year? I don't know, one of the shows earlier that about when I was a kid and saw something go over my grandparents' house. And I was probably, I know I was elementary school age, maybe fourth grade, something like that. And I had just gotten into reading about UFOs and aliens and was fascinated about, And back in the 80s, one of the big movies was E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, that made aliens look really cool, and it'd be fun to have something land in your backyard and a creature stay with you for a while and all that stuff. And
Right.
so I wasn't scared about aliens then. I really, I'm not scared now either. And back then, I really wasn't. To me, it was a Disney thing. So, but yeah, when this happened, it was a holiday. I know it. I think it was 4th of July. It was summertime or somewhere thereabouts. And my sister and I were outside. It had gotten dark, and my parents were still in my grandparents' house talking in the living room. I don't know where my brother was. He was probably in there too, watching TV. And we're in the backyard. We were either kicking a ball or throwing it around, just running around having fun. And there was no noise, but the sky was completely clear. You could see the stars, no clouds anywhere. It was cooling off, and we were having a great time. And I'm not sure which one of us noticed it first, my sister or me, but as we were running, I know one of us stopped and looked, and the other one followed suit. And we look up at this thing coming over. It came out from the tree line from the property over from my grandparents. But it was up in the air. It wasn't rising or anything. It was already in the air, just going straight over. And the best I can describe this from what we can see below, it was a rectangle shape, like a long box. I mean, it was perfect rectangle shape. It had a light on each corner and smaller lights running along each straight side. Now, I had seen planes and helicopters go over, so I already knew what those looked like. This did not look like a plane or a helicopter. We didn't know of anything that was box shaped that would fly in the air. So, and the other thing that was strange, that there was almost completely, silence. There wasn't really a lot of noise coming from this thing. It was, I think, maybe like a low motor sound, but nothing like a plane or a helicopter would do. Those are noisy. This was very quiet, with just a kind of a low motor sound, and it just slowly went over. And again, like I said, and me and my sister going, "What is that? Could that be aliens coming? What is that? It's not an airplane." And of course, being big fans of ET, my first reaction was I stuck my arms up, started waving. I said, "Welcome to planet Earth," out loud. And just watched as it went over, and it kept going straight, and then it disappeared on the tree line on the other side. We have no idea. It was moving slow. It wasn't going fast like a plane or a jet or anything. It was really slow. But I'll never forget that rectangle shape. And you could see the shadows, a solid object, perfectly rectangle shape. I have no idea what it was. It was like you got a giant dumpster and put lights beneath it and flew it through the air, And
You've never seen anything like that since?
No, I don't know what it. I did have another. I don't know if I talked about this one yet. There was a second sighting I had when I was in my early 20s or mid 20s. And I was living in Homewood in an apartment complex. It's no longer there, right there on Valley Avenue, just behind Red Mountain and the Homewood side. And I was outside, but who knows what I was doing? Probably people watching or whatever, but I was outside and
scaring somebody.
Probably, or maybe smoking a cigar. I don't know. But I'm standing there, and it was not dark yet. It was late in the afternoon, probably dusk. The sun was going down, but there was still a light out. And I look over the tree line, and I see going horizontally over the tree line, way out there, probably over Old Homewood, further out there past Old Homewood, just a big ball of light. And it was going slowly horizontally. And then I hear a noise coming from behind, which I couldn't see because the apartment building was behind me, but something like a plane was coming. That ball of light stopped, and then it shot away into the horizon. And about that time, a military jet came tearing over the sky, flying in that same direction. And it disappeared in the horizon too. So I don't know if that was a test of some kind, or was there a UFO and the military was hot-footing after it to see what it was? I don't know. It was like a perfectly round ball, like a star flying over. Then it stopped, and then it shot off into the horizon directly ahead.
Wow.
So that's two I can confirm that sightings that I couldn't identify, that couldn't be easily explained as a plane. A plane's not going to do that. Fly over here, stop, and then in another direction.
Mm.
And a chopper is not going to do that, and definitely not with no noise. There was no noise, just that military jet that went sail out. That might have been two of them went flying over. And I remember some neighbors were looking as they went over, but they didn't see what I saw, that ball of light over the horizon.
So compared to that UFO, in comparison, what size were those helicopters? Like, was a UFO this big and the helicopters that big, or how did they relate to each other?
That UFO was so far over in the horizon, I really don't know what size it was. I mean, it could have been as big as a couple of city blocks, but so, way over there, I wouldn't know. Or it could have been just a small aerial thing.
Yeah, it wasn't right on top of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was way over. Now it might have been big for it to be way over there over that horizon. I could still make out a round shape. It might have been pretty good size, but I never saw any reports of any UFO.
Well,
so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's why we call it unidentified flying object, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I've told my story. I'm not going to go in great detail with it again, but the similarity, at least one similarity, is the black helicopters flying around it. The difference from there is this craft I saw was kind of oval shaped, elongated, but it wasn't a square. It was curled, rounded in the front, kind of round corners, not square. But it was huge because it was flying right over the property, and all I could see was the leading edge of it over the front of my deck, my porch, and the helicopters, which were those black military-looking helicopters, were like toys compared to the size of this ship I saw. And of course, in the midst of that, you may remember the men in black showed up, and I have no explanation for that at all. What I would like to do as we get into our conversations here real quick is I want to share the video just 2 nights ago that kind of brought this subject up to the fore again. It's not a very lengthy, but at least everybody can catch up to date to the latest UFO, at least by me here in Alabama, right here at my. Are you ready? Am I still on the audio?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see you anyway.
Well, see that?
All right, you explained this to me.
Okay.
I was out here on my HT ham radio chatting with a friend a while ago, and I noticed this extremely interesting light in the sky. The skies are perfectly clear tonight, and there it is. I do not have any clue, but this is live right here, Alabaster, Alabama, and I'm totally.
What do you think about that?
No, as I just told that story a minute ago, I didn't even make the connection till now. That looks a lot like what I saw outside my apartment building that the military jets took off after. Just perfectly round, and it was glowing.
Was it pulsing like that?
I think it was just a steady light from what I remember. That was back in the early 2000s, I know.
Well, let's keep watching, but you notice at this part it's pulsing very obvious.
I will
and then
show you.
I scan out.
This is on my cell phone. My other camera's got good.
Then I go back in.
The battery was dead, and this is just a scan around. I'm live right now. This is not the way, and that light was just extremely bright. I was looking at the stars.
But you notice how it quit pulsing.
Yeah.
But you could see around the outer. I paused it, but it looks like the outer rim is spinning like this. It looked like. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I could see some kind of motion. Was it just hanging there? Was it moving around?
It was kind of moving away from me, but look at it closely.
Oh, yeah.
You see that circle around it looks like it's spinning.
Yeah, I see that. I do see that.
Okay, so anyway, that's what prompted this. And of course, we don't want to get too boring. So, but this was kind of exciting thing to see and experience. I'm a ham radio operator. I have we call it a HT. Sometimes I go out on my back deck. The weather's nice. I look at the stars. HT is a handheld radio, looks like a walkie-talkie, but it's a ham radio. And
my brother.
Your brother's on it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got one.
Yeah. So I've got buddies in Pelham and whatnot. We hit the repeater, talk to each other. Anyway, I'm standing out there and I'm looking. There's a little dipper and this, that, and the other. But over here is this real bright light that's really out of place. And with the naked eye, I could tell that light didn't belong. So I went in. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go in and get my I've got a Sony camera that's got an awesome zoom on it. So I went and picked it up off my desk. And of course, it's been sitting and wasn't charged. It was totally dead. So I just grabbed my cell phone. That's what I captured that with. And I didn't, as I zoomed in on it, it took me a second to grasp the idea that this thing is pulsing like a heartbeat, you know? And then I wanted to show everybody that this is not something manipulated. This is my cell phone. Here I am on my back deck. And then I zoomed back in on it. It wasn't pulsing anymore. But anyway, I didn't try to say that what it was. I don't know. I just know it was interesting. It was unidentified and it was out of the ordinary. And somebody asked me if it was a drone. I fly drones. I've got 2 or 3 in my garage. I've got 2 in my bedroom. So I've been flying drones for years, and that was not a drone, I can assure you. But what it was, I don't know. It's unidentified. The picture that you see behind me here was from the Navy, the Air Force, I guess, off of one of their radars. You may have read that report, I think last year sometime. And so there's been a lengthy history. Now, I did an interview back in, what year was that? I did a podcast where I interviewed, you familiar with Stanton Friedman?
Mm-hmm.
Back in, what year? He's dead now. I did that in 2015, to be exact. And he spent his lifetime in regards to this UFO stuff. And so I have no answers, bottom line. What do you think about all this? Do you think that there's aliens? Do you think any of it's alien aircraft? Do you think it's military or something the government has?
I definitely think the military, probably all kinds of things that the military has that they're testing that we don't know about, and they're not going to tell us about it. I know my dad was in the Air Force in Vietnam, and he'll tell you even now there's things that they test that they're involved in, they're not going to tell you about it. And, you know, different kinds of new weapons and craft and things. So who knows how much of that's probably military testing. But then again, I'm definitely not dismissing life on other planets. I mean, my grandfather, and this is another story I thought of, he was a old Baptist preacher from back in the day, big in faith they were, and even he would tell you because of what his grandmother witnessed one time.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought about as you were playing that video. I hadn't told about this one yet, but he'll even tell you, or if he was here, he would tell you he believed there was some kind of life on other planets. He would say, why would God put this great big universe out here and then only put life on this planet? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. So who knows what's on other planets and other galaxies. But he told me a story about his grandmother, which would be my great-great-grandmother, somewhere around in there. This is back in the 30s when this happened. He was, or it might have been early. Yeah, it was about the 30s. He was a young boy, but probably in his teens, around in there. And his grandmother was still young enough that she wasn't senile, crazy. And like a lot of Southern people back then, she loved to go out in the afternoon, early evening, and sit on her porch rocker on the front and just rock and rock on that porch. The front porch was a big thing back then for Southern people back in the day when there weren't TVs and things around. So she was out there rocking, and as she described it to my pawpaw, she says, I was sitting there in my chair and I hear what sounds like music, this heavenly kind of music that sounded like, I don't know, some kind of violin or something like that. And she said, I look up at the trees and I see from over this side of the yard, the trees in the air, something comes flying over. And it was large, but it wasn't a bird. It was like a solid, I think I don't know what word she used, but it was like a cylindrical thing, but she said it had wings. And it was, the way she described it was playing this music, she said, or today we might say it was that UFO, no, wah, 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 you know. But she said it was like music to her, and it just flew ever so slowly over her yard and went over the other tree line. And then as it went over and moved on, the music stopped. But she says she thought it was maybe an angel of some kind. That was just, you know, the way back then in those days when down here in the Bible Belt, she went straight to saying it was an angel. But my papa used to say he wondered if that was some sort of a UFO she might have seen. And she was a very trusty woman. She didn't make up stories. She didn't believe in ghosts, things like that. So for her to tell that, he knew it was coming from a reliable source. And that, I remember, I mean, like I say, he was a Baptist preacher, but I remember him having books in his little library that talked about UFOs. One of them was that, I think it was Chariots of the Gods,
Yeah.
and another book about early, you know, alien civilizations. He was kind of interested in that, but he wouldn't go all the way to saying yes, there are UFOs. But because he had some kind of evidence, he was always a little more open to that than any other kind of paranormal.
Yeah.
Outside of, you know, belief in God and faith.
Well, I'm kind of like your granddad was. You know, when I looked at it, and you look at the vastness of the universe, and we don't have a clue as to how far and what's out there. But why would all this universe exist? And I think it's pretty arrogant to think that we're the only life form anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And in all honesty, when we're dealing with angels and demons and all that, we're talking about aliens. They live in a different realm than we do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So some people don't like to hear it, but I tell them God's an alien.
He's supernatural.
He is, yeah. From my perspective, anyway. Maybe from his realm, he thinks we're supernatural.
He probably looks down and say, "What did I create down there?"
Yeah, I'm sure that after this experiment, he probably left and went way over there somewhere and said, "I'm starting over." Oh my. Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah. I got this pollen cough. Every year I get this, and
oh man, I mowed the grass.
Around, it makes you worried if I got it, but I've had no other problems. Just this little nagging pollen cough.
You're looking a little peaked there.
Got no fevers, no chills, no achy body, none of that.
I don't know. You gave me the chills.
Well, you give me the chills.
So are you working from home now?
Yeah, I am. They did. Because a lot of people had already left the office, I was sort of staying there because there was plenty of social distance. I had empty space all around me.
Right.
But and the reason I wanted to work there is because there we have our printers, and it makes it a lot easier for me to send things to agents.
Right.
And attorneys that I deal with, like payments, I can print them out and express them. I can't do that from home. So I was trying to stay there, and then we had Friday evening, an employee called and said they had been in contact with someone with the corona, and so she went and got tested, and she's got it now, but I guess more of a carrier, but she's quarantined herself. And then the big boss said, well, let's go ahead and just everybody work from home because we don't want any chances.
Better safe than sorry.
So I'm working from home start Monday. I came home.
Okay.
They gave us to bring home, but I'm kind of uncomfortable knowing I got this company equipment in my home that I've got to protect. If the cat knocks,
at least you got those haunted dolls out of the way, so they won't interfere with your work. Back to UFOs. Have you seen that picture right there before?
I've seen that in a book. I've got a couple of books. I think I've seen that in one of my books there. It looks familiar.
Well, I want to share this a little bit. Millions of people believe extraterrestrials visited Earth in spacecraft in ancient times and influenced even way back then human affairs. And they believe that the records of these visitations are preserved and seen as UFOs in ancient art. And that's what they found here. The theory that extraterrestrial visitors came to Earth in ancient times is a hypothesis first put forth in the 1950s by a Soviet mathematician, Mikhail Agrest. He proposed that rock art, some of which is over 7,000 years old, portrayed alien visitors wearing spacesuits and helmets, holding high-tech tools, and emerging from flying saucers or devices. They didn't call them saucers. They called them flying devices back then. So the hieroglyphs and whatnot that we used to see and the things they run across, this was one of those. And it's really amazing when you look at it. That's not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. And I'm sure, and also, let me go over here. This is interesting as well. But I know that you believe in the Bible.
Yeah.
I think you do. And
yes.
You say yes, sir?
Yes.
So I'm sure that you're familiar with Ezekiel's wheel.
Is that where he saw the spinning globes and
yes.
The being on like a throne hovering over? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So hold on a second. I want to put a picture up there of Ezekiel's wheel.
Yeah, the wheels. He saw those spinning wheels.
And there's, of course, you just have a description given there in the Bible, and then, of course, artists have taken that description and made some artwork of it. I'm going to pull that up here. So people who are not familiar with it can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here. This is one. Let me get it loaded. Right there, a wheel within a wheel, and they're both spinning. And so that you look at that, first of all, it's pulsing, and then when I zoom back in on it, you can see that outer ring was spinning. And it's interesting concept, and you think about, well, my God, that's Bible based, So the Bible talks about UFOs. I mean, is that something you thought of before in hearing that story?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've heard that talked about several times over the years. Was he seeing something alien? He believed he was seeing God and the angels, and so yeah, it is something that makes you wonder there when you read that.
And let's see, I was gonna share that. God, sometimes they don't make it easy to look stuff up here.
I know if you go to the Christian Science side, they'll definitely tell you those were UFOs because they.
Yeah, everybody's got the theory, and of course, like reading the Book of Revelation, there's a lot of stuff in there that you look at and you think, "My God, was he on acid or what?"
Revelation is a horror story. All those beasts and
like if you want to scare the crap out of your kids, right? Well, my uncle, my mother's brother, was the one when I was even a preteen. He used to come over and visit, and then he would go outside and smoke because my mom wouldn't allow smoking in the house. And he was he smoked a lot more cigarettes than you do cigars, trust me. But I would go outside, summer night, nice outside, the sun be going down, and this was way back in the late 50s, early 60s, and he was big into UFOs back then. Of course, we weren't that far removed in history from when the events happened, Area 51 and so forth out in New Mexico and Nevada. And he was really into that, and he would talk about he got me looking at the sky a lot. you know. And I don't really know how I felt. I mean, I had a good imagination, but how serious I took it all then, it was entertaining. Um, and in my little imagination, I don't remember just being scared of it or anything like that. I just found it a fascinating subject. And then, life goes on. You don't think about it much. But I used to, when I traveled, I enjoyed driving at night because it'd be less traffic. The sun wouldn't beat you up if you're driving, a distance. If I was really going a great distance. So I made a habit of, you drive along, there's no traffic, you kind of scan the night sky and whatnot. And I would always, what I would be fascinated with and look for would be what we call shooting stars,
Mhm.
and all that time I never saw anything that I would describe as UFO. I drove through Arizona, through the deserts. I drive out to California. I drive down to Mexico. I never saw anything phenomenal, shooting star and look at the sky was a nice thing and whatnot, but nothing that would say, "Ooh, I saw a UFO." And
Yeah.
then later in life, these UFO experiences started in earnest. Um, the first one that I remember happened um, shortly after 9/11, 2001. And I had driven my motor home up to Thunder Bay, Canada, and it was the middle of the summer, and I'd gone to a KOA camp up there, and it was like June and July. But Thunder Bay, Canada is way up there, and they never get really hot weather at all. um, but where my bed was in the back, if you ever been in a motor home, the bedroom's usually in the back, and in the KOA, there wasn't many people in the park there, and I would sleep with my window open, and I just lay my head on a pillow and look out, and I could see the night sky. And one night I'm laying there, and I'll never forget this, but I'm way up in the northern hemisphere, right? I'm not anywhere near the equator or anything. I'm just way up there. And I'm looking at the night sky, and there's this light that came from like over in this direction, and it just kind of floated along about that speed right there, and then it hit a point and it just disappeared. And I kept looking, there was no clouds or anything. And the first question I thought is, well, this is not this far north is not where satellites circle, um, and it just vanished, and there was no reason for it to vanish. So I just lay there, kept looking, and all of a sudden, from back here, another light came and hit that same spot, and it vanished. And it's like, okay, the mothership was cloaked and they were docking or something. I don't know. But that was interesting. Much later on, when I got to Birmingham, I had gone down to Gulfport and Biloxi, Mississippi for a short while. And on my return trip, again, I was driving at night, and I get to the east side of Birmingham on 2059, and not at the airport, not anywhere near there, but still on the east side of Birmingham along the interstate. There was a craft floating there over some houses. It wasn't a helicopter. It was, but and I was on the interstate, so it wasn't like I just slammed on the brakes to stop and look at it. But that stuck with me. And then, of course, the experience I've shared many times up on Simmons Mountain up there. So there have been instances, and I've had more than one. The video that I shared tonight that happened 2 nights ago, I've had more than one experience just right here in Alabaster like that. And again, I don't make any claims because I don't know. I don't have a clue what they are. But I know this last one. The other one kind of pulsed. I've got a video of it somewhere too that I think I captured it on my Sony camera, but it's on YouTube as well. It happened 2 or 3 years ago at least, maybe further back. But this one happened the most recent 2 nights ago. Anytime I've seen anything phenomenal, just like with ghost hunting and talking haunted dolls, nothing ever happens when I look for it. It always happens when I'm least expecting it.
Yeah, that's kind of like that with me too. I actually just remembered another incident that happened maybe about 3-4 years ago over here on Highway 280. where that Zaxby's, there used to be two Zaxby's, one at Doug Baker on Highway 280, and there was one in Inverness over there next to the Papa John's, and I think across from where Logan's and all that is. Well, I was at the Zaxby's that was there across from Logan's. They've shut it down since, but I was going through the drive-through. I'd gotten my order at the speaker, and I was put up to the window, and as the guy's getting my order ready, I'm looking out the windshield, and way over across 280 beyond, way over in the horizon, I noticed these two lights. So it was kind of clear and there were stars, but I noticed two, what I thought were stars, were doing this, kind of moving around, and they kind of loop over each other and go around. And, you know, I know sometimes car dealerships, or when they're having an event, they put those spotlights that shine in the sky and go around, but you can kind of tell those are spotlights. You can see the beam going up. These didn't have any connection to the earth. There was no beam. It was just two dots spinning. And the guy leaned out to give me my food, and I said, is there some kind of event going on over there? You know, I guess it's over in Hoover somewhere. And he leaned way, halfway out the drive-thru window and looked, and he goes, what is that? I said, I don't know. I don't know if that's some kind of light show going on over there, or is there something flying around in the air up there? I said, we might be looking at a UFO. He just kept staring dumbfounded. And I got my food and put it in the car, and I think he was getting one of his coworkers to come lean out. But I went ahead and pulled away because there was traffic behind me. I didn't want to block people getting their food. But as I was waiting to get on 280, I kept watching it. They just stayed that way, just sort of rotating around. They'd go around each other, and just there was two dots of light. I don't know what they were. Maybe they were UFOs. Maybe
That's it.
some light show. Well, it was UFOs, or was it alien? It's some kind of light show. So I don't know.
And I just want to remind everybody there's a reason that we're social distancing, and that's why I'm over here in Alabaster, and Kevin is way over there in the state Westover. And you're going to be moving to Chelsea, aren't you?
Yes, I'm still going to be in this general area.
So as he's hacking and coughing, even though our pictures are together, I'm not going to get the virus from him, because I hope that he's not spraying that far away with his contaminated cough. He won't admit it, but the reason that they shut down his office is, well, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
No, I hope everybody's safe. Unfortunately, I know a few people that are right now in quarantined in master bedrooms and not even able to be in the same room with their families right now because they were in, you know what I'm saying. So, unfortunately, this thing is really hitting us real hard. Now, there have been, and I've heard this, you familiar with the guy that does that missing 411?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, you've talked about that before.
David Pilatus, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
And he's one of the first that tried to make some connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. He was some kind of a police or FBI agent or something, and then he got involved in this and started writing these books. And for a while, he was into the Bigfoot thing. I've got friends now that are really into Bigfoot, and there's a theory that these that aliens or UFOs are somehow connected to Bigfoot. There is one person, and I don't know, some of these people, I don't know how real they are. I don't know if they're just entertaining or if they really believe what they're spouting off or not. I've got no way to know. But one guy put out a theory that Bigfoots are really alien controlled.
Yeah.
Have you heard this theory before?
I've heard that before. It's the meeting of two paranormal worlds there. People are wondering if it's a creature. And I've heard that there are places where they've had equal UFO and Bigfoot sightings. So that makes them wonder if it's connected.
Yeah.
And I've heard some few stories out there where people had seen a UFO and then shortly after caught sight of a Bigfoot. So maybe there is some kind of connection there.
So
Of course,
what if you, huh?
I still wonder if Bigfoot is a werewolf.
I think Bigfoot is smarter than we are.
Yeah.
They go camping all the time and never leave a trace.
Mm-mm.
So, in this realm of the paranormal, you are really into. Okay, you hear static on your end?
I'm hearing static on my coming out of my speaker.
I don't hear it on mine.
You hear it on your?
No.
I wonder what that is.
Well, you're the one that keeps all the haunted crap in your house. Could have some kind of interference of energy, negative energy. Your dolls are reaching out to you saying, "Let us out! Let us out!
Oh,
You're holding us captive in this cold storage. Let us out!
no.
We miss you, Daddy."
You're making me sick now.
Well, you got to miss your dolls. Jeez.
I do feel bad for them over there. I went over there yesterday afternoon while the buyer's inspector was here looking over my property. I had to go because the buyers were going to come and they don't want the owner here when that happens. So I went to the storage unit to check on them, and I'm trying to. So I put a lot of them in these huge boxes, and I know I'm not going to be able to get into the new house. So I was breaking. I got 3 big old huge giant boxes that I ordered from Staples that are ridiculously big, and I couldn't even fit them in my house. I had to carry the dolls out to the garage and put them in the boxes there. And I got some smaller, large, but more manageable U-Haul boxes online, and I've been trying to break down those put those into those U-Haul boxes instead, and break down those large boxes. And I got one done yesterday while I was over there. But yeah, it was kind of sad seeing them over there. I hadn't seen them in a while. And my cat is fighting in the window. I don't know if you can hear that.
I heard it. Yeah.
You hear some hissing.
Yeah.
Now it's funny. The static has stopped now.
So when your house, the property you're going to is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot more space for your dolls.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The house is, it's spacious, but it's still only 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be that I can display so many of them out there, and then may have to figure out what to do with the rest because my dad's gonna have his things. He's got a house of things. I got a house of things. So when you think of that, it kind of gets scary. We're gonna be able to jam all this in here.
Well, you'll figure it out.
And that attic space, it was hot up there. It's a large attic, walk-in attic up there where you go up the steps and in the attic, but it's not climate controlled. So it was hot up there. So I don't want to put something like that up there and let the heat get to it.
Put a window air conditioner up there.
Well, yeah. Well, there's not a window up there, but
You can
you could probably put a fan up there.
Yeah. Well, so do you have a closing date yet?
April 21st. So
Okay.
I'm going to have to spend
Another little less than a month.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to do some heavy packing in a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, the good news, there's an advantage to working from home now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
You don't sound too excited about it.
I just hate the idea of packing and unpacking. Once that's out of the way, I can relax a little bit more. And
Yeah.
it's probably going to be a fight between me and my dad on where we're going to put everything. And
Oh boy.
I mean, there's 2 big living rooms in there. So he'll have his own, he's got a great room, and I'll have my own living room where I can put my dolls and stuff. But
Right.
again, there's only going to be so much room to display everything
Right.
and have the furniture and all that in there.
Okay. All right. So going back to our haunted, well, you were talking about haunted dolls. We're concerned about your dolls being in storage, and that's very sad. Heartbreaking. I pray for them every night.
You pray for him.
Anyway, so the connectivity to all this paranormal world, and I sit back sometimes and think about we've got like people like you've got you the dolls themselves, I guess you call them haunted, but they're not alive. They have attachment of something, spirit. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
So they are, the doll itself is just a physical item. It's nothing. But some spirit has attached itself to that item.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like a painting you wrote a book about could have a spirit attached to it. The painting itself is an innocent object, but it could have some connection to a person that had a violent death and that sort of thing. And that spirit of whoever suffered that can attach itself to that item because it meant something to them in life, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but when I think about this, and I think about, well, we got Bigfoot, we got haunted dolls, we got haunted places, we got, you've done paranormal research for a long time. And then, there's all this strange happenings that we really just have theories. It's not like we truly understand any of it.
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, you based on your experiences dealing with it, you've got what you think is going on there. But you can't really prove it. It's just through your experience, you feel that way about it. And then other people have their theories and their feelings about it based on their experiences. Well, the idea, and I'm sure that I did not originate this idea, I'm sure that other people have talked or written about it or whatever, is that all this stuff we're dealing with is maybe in a different dimension, a different realm, and we're just kind of bumping into it, crossing. In other words, everywhere we are on this planet, the number of people that's existed over the thousands of years that humans have been here, and animals too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any place on this planet you can go pretty much to where somebody hadn't died. If you think about it throughout the entire history of life on this planet. So there's a potential of bumping into something anywhere you go. It does not have to be where a violent act took place.
Yeah.
There's a little grave you may be familiar with up in Springville, Highway 11, just north of Springville. There's a grave that sits right at the edge of the road in a curve. And I mean, the road is here and the grave is like right here. Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about?
And where is that at?
Right on Highway 11, Gaston Highway, just north of Springville.
Oh, I don't guess so it's in, no, I guess I've seen that.
St. Clair County. Hold on. I did a video, a very short video. I didn't try to overdo it. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So let me hold on. I'm going to share this so you can see the grave here. Just a second.
Okay.
Bear with me. Bear with me. All right. Let's see. I don't really need the sound with that, but there we go. All right, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched this before.
Okay. I mean, it is like right on the road. That
Yeah.
The story is that he, I guess, was some kind of traveling salesman back before there was even paved roads. And I'm trying to remember if he was supposedly killed by a wild animal, exactly how he died. But the point again is very simply that people have died everywhere. That's just where I'm going with all that. So you would think that you wouldn't have to go any special locations to find ghosts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if indigenous people occupied all this land before us white people came in here, and they lived and died, and you know, for who knows how long. Um, but I'm kind of digressing. So, what if you're familiar with the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the pictures they get are always kind of blurred and whatnot? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if that blurriness is because they are shifting between realms?
Yeah, that's a possibility, or just a horrible shaky photographer. I don't know. That would be interesting.
Our photographer that's purposely shaking.
Yeah, I don't want them to see the ape suit, so let me
Yeah.
jiggle this down a little bit.
And that's really the sad part about all this paranormal stuff in the 21st century is because the technology is such. I mean, on my software, I can go out with my video camera and just do a video of the woods, you know, and then I can come back in my software and I can add in a Bigfoot walking through the woods, through the trees, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not a great video producer, you know what I'm saying? Somebody, people can do that stuff all day. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame because as now, and you can go on YouTube and look up videos, but now it's too easy to dismiss it as CGI, fakery, and it just, then when something real does post, nobody believes it. It's kind of irritating for that person that actually does catch it, and they can't, you know, all they get is skepticism because of that.
Well, and you know, there's some people that do have fun with it. That you know, you can tell they're just entertaining you, but other people try to put stuff out there that just clearly is like, okay, come on. And I mentioned the name of that one guy that's got 1 million followers again, but you know what? I mean, to me, when I watched him a few times, and it's like, again, without mentioning names, I just think it's fake. I'm sorry. I don't think there's anything real to it. I don't think that every famous person that comes along, you can just automatically say, okay, I'll get my spirit box and have a conversation with, you know, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I would think that if Robin Williams died yesterday, that, you know, tonight he's probably getting too acclimated to his new life to be concerned about talking to you.
Yeah.
If you kind of understand what I'm saying here. So I don't know. It's just, and you got to be very careful, and it's sad. Something I learned in the last year, especially, and I kind of knew this stuff all along, but there's all these reality TV shows, and I've learned that in great part the issue is everybody gets their like 2 minutes of fame. I mean, you've been on Playboy TV, and I mean their website, right?
The Playboy, that article on the Playboy, yeah.
So you've had your little notoriety here and there. You've been written up a lot, and you've been interviewed, you know, but you're one of the most level-headed that I've dealt with, because you've never, even though you get excited about it, you don't try to sit there and think you're going to be a superstar tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't quit your job and start doing this stuff full time.
No.
But the sad part is a lot of people that really think just because they have their 2 minutes of fame on some reality TV show that, oh yeah, guess what, you know, they kind of get overboard with it. Unfortunately, it's like other things. It's a popular thing, and sure, you're writing books. You're putting a lot of effort into it. You don't charge to do your YouTube stuff, I guess. You're not trying to make money on sharing that kind of stuff, your podcast and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
there's no charge to listen to those or watch them.
Yeah. And you, I guess, are you still doing that pretty regularly? Have you had to slow down because you're moving?
Yeah, with the moving and everything going on, I guess it's been about 3 weeks since I did that podcast, that little storytelling podcast. So I need to get something rustled up for that.
Oh, yeah.
The move and the stress that's coming with it has kind of made me sort of zoom in and focus on that. And I haven't written on the book have been writing on since New Year or earlier this year. I kind of put a halt on that too, because the stress of, especially when you're moving where you're going to have to live with 2 other people in close vicinity. It's a life-changing thing. I'm giving up, silence and space to now I'm going to have to live with 2 other people.
Right.
To, help take care of my elderly dad. Then my brother's going to be on the property. So, and it's going to be hectic when the move comes. So it's kind of scary, kind of exciting, kind of stressful, all mixed up, and it kind of douses your creativity there.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, we've got this coronavirus thing that's affecting all our lives. We're in a situation. I mean, nighttime has become a whole different world out here.
Yeah.
A lot of times we go to a restaurant just to get out of the house and maybe sit with a friend or a relative and chat and be in a different atmosphere. And my God, that's just not going to happen. You can't even sit down in a McDonald's. So, hopefully that gives you time. I've been pumping out these books, but I know you got more going on because you're still working, and then you got this big move.
Yeah.
Coming in. How long do you think once you get in the house is going to take you to settle down?
Oh, I don't know. I've done some packing here, but there's still a lot to do.
Well, you're going to have some help with your furniture and whatnot, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got some movers who come and disassemble the bed and reassemble it at the new place and do all that. Yeah, I just need to pack.
How far is this house from where you're situated now?
It's not very far. It takes a while to get there because you got to go down these back roads and stuff if you're coming from my house. But it's probably maybe 10 minutes away from here.
Okay, all right. So is it far off 280?
I don't think it was. I think when we drove from there to 280, we came out where Publix and Burger King were meeting at there. Come out there, across the highway from there.
Okay.
It was a 5-minute drive, maybe.
Oh wow, that's not bad, man.
Maybe a little less than that.
Well, we hope that. Of course, I don't want them to move too fast. I want to get what they're calling about flatlining this spread of this virus. So hopefully it won't be long before things will get kind of back to normal. But again, in your situation of moving, it probably not, not affecting you that much like it is some, and you haven't lost your job. Some people, a lot of people have lost their work totally.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to get some money back. The government's going to write us some checks. And I was really surprised to find out that even us on Social Security is going to get some of that money. So, yeah. So I'm the bad thing about it is gas is going down. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I saw that. It's
dramatically. And it don't take. I can fill up my tank right now for less than $20.
Yeah.
And
in here,
and then we're going to have some money to boot. We're getting this check. It's going to be direct deposited in your bank account.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have cheap gas and we got money, but we can't go anywhere.
We can't go anywhere.
It don't feel right, does it?
No.
So anyway, I say, if you want to hoard anything, I'd be hoarding gas right now. Toilet paper, get some gas cans, hoard the gas. And on your new property, you got plenty of places out there to hoard some gas. So anyway,
I saw a picture this last week. Somebody did one of those mean pictures. I guess it was earlier this week, where there's a picture of a normal suburban home, but they've been toilet papered. you know, and I guess it was an older picture from a few years ago. Somebody's house had been toilet papered, but somebody used that and made a meme. I mean, the trees and the house are covered in toilet paper, and the meme on there is, thanks to whoever did this, my house is now in the market for $1.2 million.
Well, anytime Auburn when they did that down in Auburn,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like, yeah, I bet they wish they hadn't have wasted that toilet paper now.
Yeah.
But you're right. I've got plenty of toilet paper. I didn't have to buy any. Okay. So I've had plenty of toilet paper. If you want to get more for your house, I don't mind sharing some with you. You tell real estate agents, say they can have this house for $2.1 million, and I get 2 packs of toilet paper with it.
Yeah. I found some. I bought some. I guess that was the end of last week. I was able to find some. It's gone from being completely empty. Even this Walmart up here, you know, for a little while there was completely empty on toilet paper. Now there's some. So I hope it's progress where there's more and more, and people aren't quite hoarding as much.
The reality is there's never been a shortage.
Yeah.
They just keep buying it out every day.
I know.
It's just like these masks. There's not a shortage of masks. They're just not in the right place.
Yeah.
Because last Monday, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but some anonymous donor donated 100,000 face masks to the state of Alabama. If there were a shortage of masks, how did he get them? So there's not a shortage of masks. They were just in the wrong place, and unfortunately, you may be familiar with this because I guess you get into some accounting, but these corporations and state governments and whatnot have a certain procedure they've got to go through, that they've set these guidelines for purchasing. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they can just go out and write a check. They have to create a purchase order and put it out on bid, and it just, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's never been a shortage. We created the shortage in the grocery stores and Walmarts because of people stupidly hoarding stuff. Yeah. But it gets restocked every night. Truckers are on the road delivering this stuff. Mm-hmm. So every day it gets replaced. And then the face mask is simply because the bureaucracy makes it hard for them to instantaneously get this stuff. So now we got private companies and individuals donating because it's out there. It's just in the wrong place and they can't get a hold of it. We were talking a while ago about CGI and about the different things that you can do a video. Right?
Do what?
We were talking about CGI and different things.
Yes. Yeah.
Do a video. So I want to share something that I was just playing around with.
Okay.
That, I mean, if I can do it, give me a break. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, you ready to watch this craziness? All right.
I was waiting on the zombie to come climbing out of the ground.
I tried to get as many different things in there as I could. And but the point is I mean, I was even able to get the Bigfoot to walk behind the tombstone, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I don't call myself an expert. I've learned my software pretty good, but unfortunately, I tried. Let's see, I had a skeleton in there, I had a UFO in there, I had all the flies in there. I had the, did you see the shadow man walk across there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So I put a lot of different things. Now the cat you saw on the wall back there, that was at that Oak Hill Cemetery downtown Birmingham, near the vet. You know where I'm talking about. I'd gone there, and that was just a snapshot. That cat was actually there, by the way. I didn't have to add the cat. That was the reason that picture was taken, because that cat is like, that was a cat at the cemetery on that wall. But everything else, I added the lightning and blah blah blah. And unfortunately, somebody that really wanted to screw with somebody could, as you see, could
Yeah.
easily mess with some people. Okay,
Yeah.
so uh, we're gonna have the phone number given out, and we're gonna have some people call in. Hold on a second. We got some people that want to talk to us.
Okay.
And we can see if we can have somebody help us entertain. 'Cause I know that
And I've got a story pulled up here, one of the great UFO stories in history.
all right, so if anybody wants to call in, oh yeah, I wasn't even checking my chat box over here. Puma Puka, yes, I'm familiar with that. In my chat box over here, the Hutchison effect. Patrick McKeever, if you can hear me, give me a call. We'll put you on the air and have a conversation. 0 Point Energy and hair that's like their fiber optics. I don't know what that's about. Howdy. But this Patrick McKeever has sharing a whole lot right here. So if you want to call in, give me a call and we'll put you on the air with us, and you can share in the conversation if you'd like.
And I've got a.
Oh, go ahead. If we get a call, I'll let you know, Kevin. But I'm going to let you give your whatever you're talking about. You got a story?
Okay. Yeah, I have one that I already pulled up earlier.
Okay.
In the spirit of the UFO conversation, this is one of the famous earlier. I don't know if it's the earliest. I'm certain. I mean, it's not the earliest in history, of course, but it's as far as American, in our century, in the last century, this is one of the more famous ones. And this is the Kenneth Arnold sighting. Every time I would read a book about UFOs when I was a kid, this was always the #1 story. Though various sightings of unidentified flying objects were reported over hundreds of years before the mid-1940s, World War II marked the beginning of a new phase of interest. Kenneth Arnold's historic 1947 sighting, combined with a highly publicized UFO incident that took place later that summer near Roswell, New Mexico, we know about that, did more than anything else to fuel this frenzy of interest in otherworldly visitors and establish an entire subculture known as ufology or ufology. I don't know how you would pronounce it. But World War II and the accompanying development of rocket science marked a new level of interest in strange flying objects. Numerous Allied pilots flying at night over Germany reported seeing balls of light following their aircraft. Nicknamed Foo Fighters, these ghostly flyers were said to be one of Germany's secret weapons. Varying explanations for the flares claimed they were optical illusions or results of the electrical phenomenon known as St. Elmo's fire. On June 24th, 1947, the civilian pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 objects glowing bright blue-white, flying in a V formation over Washington's Mount Rainier. He estimated the object's flight speed at 1,700 miles per hour. That's fast. and compared their motion to a saucer if you skip it across water. That's his quote. A saucer if you skip it across water. In newspaper reports of Arnold's sighting, this description was mistakenly taken to mean that the objects were shaped like saucers, leading to the popularization of the term flying saucer as a synonym for UFOs. So I think that Kenneth Arnold kind of single-handedly came up with that term there, flying saucer. He really didn't say it, but it came from his description. Though Arnold said he initially thought what he had seen were test flights of military aircraft, the military later said they had been conducting no test flights during the time of the incident. A prospector of Mount Adams saw the objects at the same time as Arnold, bolstering his story. After news of Arnold's sightings hit the media, similar sightings began to be reported in increasing numbers across the United States. Also in July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico newspaper claimed that personnel of the nearby U.S. Army airfield had recovered a crashed flying saucer. The Army, in turn, explained that the crash was that of a wrecked weather balloon. Though the Roswell incident was mostly forgotten until the late 1970s, around that time, several eyewitnesses began to come forward claiming the weather balloon was in fact an alien craft, and conspiracy theories regarding Roswell still abound among ufologists. So, but yeah, so it looks like when Kenneth Arnold described his sighting, and he said the way whatever those things were that he saw were flying, it looked like the motion was like a saucer if you skip it across the water. And so the public at large just took that and became flying saucers, because that's what Arnold described in his sighting. But he was a level-headed civilian pilot. He was not someone that went around seeing things. People that knew him knew he was a great guy and well educated. So for him to come forward and say he saw these objects, but it also makes me wonder, of course, when it says when the military were contacted, they denied any testing, but of course they're going to deny that. They're not going to say, yeah, we're up there flying some craft we built. They're going to deny it. So, I would never, ever look for or expect the military to come and offer an explanation of any kind of UFO sighting, even today, that we might see. It's always going to be, we weren't testing. We don't know what, and it's kind of hard to fall on the weather balloon explanation nowadays with the kind of craft we see for a lot of these UFO descriptions. You can't just blow that off as a weather balloon nowadays.
Yeah, some of the things, well, I think the one that I filmed just 2 nights ago, I don't think that would ever fall in line, whoop, 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 and sing. And no, I have a hard time thinking that would be the case. Now, are you familiar with the case in Alabama that happened back in the 80s, I think it was, in Fife, Alabama?
I probably have heard it before.
All right, I will share that one. Fife, Alabama, which is up around kind of in the Gunnersville area, cutting across Matala, Rainbow City. You know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Across there, going toward Gunnersville. New York Times, Fife, Alabama. The prospect of seeing a UFO lured more than 4,000 people to this town of 1,300 in northeast Alabama Friday night. They had started this deal, but I'm going to cover more here. But for all the hoopla, no unidentified flying objects were sighted. Visibility was difficult because of clouds and light rain. Fife got on the UFO circuit February 10th when a woman reported seeing a strange light in the sky, and the police later reported seeing a large lighted object passing silently over them. Numerous other sightings have been reported since then. So this 25 years ago, as of last year, I guess 26 years as of February the 11th this year. The tiny DeKalb County town of Fife, Alabama, became the center of national attention, and it did. Like the first part I read was from the New York Post, the New York Times. And on February the 11th, 1989, which was a Friday, the first call was made to the Fife Police Department. That woman reported seeing a strange object in the sky. By the end of February the 12th, more than 50 residents had reported seeing this strange object, including the town's police chief and his assistant. Now, I'm going to interrupt this. I'm going to take a break from this article real quick, because the joke, as I can think you could imagine, that the poor police chief had to endure was this was Fife, Alabama, and he saw a UFO. So I kind of, throughout his life, he heard the words Barney Fife a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
So, I had to throw that in there. The object was described by a witness as hovering at an angle from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock with bright lights at the top and bottom. The curvature was outlined in green with a real bright light in the center. Now, the interesting there, look how detailed they were able to describe this craft. It wasn't like it was a vague description. That's a very detailed description, kind of even more detailed than the descriptions you and I gave of the craft we saw.
Yeah.
Fife Police Chief Barney Fife, oh, not Barney Fife, I'm sorry, Charles Jr. Garmany and Assistant Police Chief Fred Works responded to the initial call and soon saw something in the sky. Garmany and Works were driving along DeKalb County Road 43, but stopped and stepped out of the car when they saw an object in the sky that was bigger than a jumbo jet and silent. They described it as metallic and triangular shaped. According to DeKalbLandmarks.org, Works told a reporter, the object came on over and got straight overhead. It was big, wide, and appeared to be a wide triangular shape. We kept waiting to hear the sound. We kept looking at each other and saying, where's the sound? We never heard anything. Garmany added, what I saw the first time was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was not a helicopter. It was not a plane, not a sound. A week later, Works told the Associated Press, I'm not saying what I saw was a flying saucer, but what really got to me was the lack of sound. Mm-hmm. Other law officers who reported seeing something strange in the sky included a Crossville police officer, the Geraldine police chief, and a state trooper, the AP reported. Over the next few days, as many as 4,000 tourists and more than 100 news organizations converged on Fife. After a witness described the craft as banana-shaped, an entrepreneur began selling T-shirts and a banana-shaped object on the front with the words, I survived the Fife UFO. For a while, residents of Fife enjoyed the notoriety, but soon the tourists and the jokes grew tiresome, as the Tuscaloosa News reported February 17th, 1989, under the headline, Fife Police Chief Aide Tired of UFO Jokes. Works said in the article, I walked into the grill the other day for lunch and there sat a reporter. I never even got to eat. I came back to the office and there sat reporters from a TV station. Right now, I'm 2 rec reports behind. After a few years, however, the town realized the lure of its history and began hosting the Fife UFO Days Festival each August, featuring hot air balloons, arts and crafts, games, a street dance, live entertainment, and more. Junior Garmany went on to run the Shop and Go store in Fife and later ran unsuccessfully for the city town council. Garmany died October 24, 2013 at the age of 64. The flag at Fife Town Hall flew at half-mast in his honor, according to Space. Fife isn't the only Alabama town with a history of UFOs sightings. Things were especially plentiful in the 70s. I remember that well. That was before you were born, wasn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you born in 1994?
Well, 1978.
To this day, I was already bought my first house by the time you were born. Jeez. To this day, Alabamians are reporting seeing strange craft in the sky. Alabama ranked 15th in the U.S. in 2013 in the number of sightings, according to MUFON Network, Mutual UFO Network. Another sighting. You want me to continue with this?
Yeah, go on. I've got one here too that I found that's Alabama related.
Okay, this one's short, and then I'll take a break and we'll go back and forth if you want to.
Okay.
Falkville, 1973, the year I graduated from high school. In 1973, another police chief in a small town, North Alabama, took a photo of what he thought was an alien being. Woo! That October, Falkville Police Chief Jeff Greenhall, I went to school with Greenhall, responded to a call from a woman who was excited as she reported seeing something strange. Greenhall reported and came upon a 6-foot tall metallic creature with an antenna on its head. Okay, my favorite Martian. Okay, it looked like his head and neck were kind of made together. He was real bright. Well, he wasn't Alabama. Something like rubbing on nickel, but just as smooth as glass. Different angles give different lighting. I don't believe it was aluminum foil. It was running faster than any human I ever saw. And they didn't have meth back then, did they? Greenhall was ridiculed and he lost his job. Many people believed someone had played a prank on the chief. However, the photo he snapped of the creature that night can be seen in books on alien life. All right, share your story.
Okay, this was in Montgomery, Alabama, but this was a long time ago. In the early morning hours of July 24th, 1948, Clarence Childs, chief pilot, and John Whited, co-pilot, were flying an Eastern Airlines Douglas DC-3 passenger plane near Montgomery, Alabama, at about 5,000 feet altitude. The night sky was clear with the moon and 4 days past full shining. That's some kind of jargon there. But anyway, at about 2:45 a.m., Childs saw a dull red glow above and ahead of the aircraft. He told Whited, "Look, here comes a new Army jet job." The object closed on their DC-3 in a matter of seconds, and both men later said they saw the object fly past the right side of their plane at high speed before it pulled up with a tremendous burst of flame out of its rear and zoomed up into the clouds. They observed the object for a total of 10 to 15 seconds. Childs and Whited stated that the object looked like a wingless craft. It seemed to have 2 rows of windows through which glowed a very bright light as brilliant as a magnesium flare. Both pilots claimed the object was 100 feet long and 25 to 30 feet in diameter, torpedo or cigar shaped, similar to a B-29 fuselage with flames coming out its tail. One of the plane's passengers, C.L. McKelvey, said he reported seeing a bright streak of light that flashed by his windows. There was a third witness. Now this is crazy. Later studies by Air Force, here we go, the Air Force, and civilian researchers indicated that Childs and Whited had seen a meteor, possibly. And in a 1959 Project Blue Book formally stated that a meteor was the cause of the incident. Now I ask you, I've seen what I think was a meteor or shooting star fall out of the sky like a burst and fell down. I've heard of meteors coming down. I've never heard of a meteor flying by an airplane then shooting up into the sky. So I'm sorry, I don't know where this meteor description comes from, but I think that was just a pile of malarkey. But it says here that this was one of the more famous sightings of that time, along with another one, which is very interesting. The
I
Mantell UFO
got
incident.
to stop you for a second.
Okay.
Is your cat behind the camera?
Yeah, she just climbed up the top of the hutch. So
Okay,
I
so
didn't see what
I didn't know if there was a haunting or what was going on. But I'm sorry. I guess it was wagging its tail or something because this dark movement kept coming above the screen.
Yeah, I'm petting her head now. Yeah, she's up here on the hut.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This one's a good one I want to share too. The Mantell UFO incident was actually resulted in a human death. So let me share this one here. On January 7, 1948.
Something happened to your sound.
Uh-oh, can you hear me?
Now you're.
Incident.
There you go.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you went into outer space there somewhere. I think you got abducted. Now it's back.
Sometimes it breaks up.
It goes into a Donald Duck voice, which does not fit your face at all.
Well, a few times it tried to freeze up while you were talking, so I guess there's some kind of connection issue going on.
Well, everybody's home instead of out, so we're probably burning the internet.
Yeah. But yeah, the Mantell UFO incident. I don't think I've heard this one before. That actually caused a death. On January 7, 1948, 25-year-old Captain Thomas Mantell, who was a Kentucky Air National Guard pilot, died in a crash of his P-51 Mustang fighter after being sent in pursuit of a UFO. The event was among the most publicized early UFO incidents back then. It says he was an experienced pilot, and his flight history consisted of 2,100 hours of flighting time. He had been honored for his part in the Battle of Normandy during World War II. On January 7, 1948, Godman Army Airfield at Fort Knox, Kentucky, received a report from the Kentucky Highway Patrol of an unusual aerial object near Madisonville, Kentucky. Reports of a westbound circular object about 250 to 300 feet in diameter were received from Owensboro and Irvington. At about 1:45 p.m., Sergeant Quentin Blackwell saw an object from his position in the control tower at Fort Knox. Two other witnesses in the tower also reported a white object in the distance. Colonel Guy Hicks, the base commander, reported an object he described as very white, about 1/4 the size of the full moon. Through binoculars, it appeared to have a red border at the bottom, and it remained stationary seemingly for 1.5 hours. Observers at Clinton County Army Airfield in Ohio described the object as having the appearance of a flaming red cone trailing a gaseous green mist, and observed the object for around 35 minutes. Another observer at Lockbourne Army Airfield in Ohio noted just before leaving it came to very near the ground, staying down for about 10 seconds, then climbed at a very fast rate back to its original altitude, 10,000 feet, leveling off and disappearing into the overcast, heading 120 degrees. Its speed was greater than 500 miles per hour in level flight. But let me get down to where, let's see. The Mantell incident, let me see. Okay, only one of Mantell's wingmen, Lieutenant Albert Clements. Okay, wait, I skipped over. Okay, one pilot's Mustang was low on fuel, and he quickly returned to base. Ruppelt notes that there was some disagreement amongst the air traffic controllers as to Mantell's words as he chased after this object. He was already in the air and was in radio communication. But some sources reported that Mantell had described an object which looks metallic and of tremendous size. But according to Ruppelt, others disputed whether or not Mantell actually said this. The other two pilots accompanied Mantell in steep pursuit of the object. They later reported they saw an object, but described it as so small and indistinct that they could not identify it. Mantell ignored suggestions that the pilots should level their altitude and try to more clearly see the object. Only one of Mantell's wingmen, Lieutenant Albert Clements, had an oxygen mask, and his oxygen was low in supply. Clements and the third pilot, Lieutenant Hammond, called off their pursuit at 22,500 feet. Mantell continued to climb, however. According to the Air Force, once Mantell passed 25,000 feet chasing this object, he blacked out from the lack of oxygen, and his plane began spiraling back towards the ground. A witness later reported Mantell's Mustang in a circling descent. His plane crashed on a farm south of Franklin, Kentucky, on the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, and firemen later pulled Mantell's body from the Mustang's wreckage. His seatbelt was shredded, and his wristwatch had stopped at 3:18 p.m., the time of his crash. Meanwhile, by 3:50 p.m., the UFO was no longer visible to observers at Godman Army Airfield. So, of course, that got circulated wildly in the news media, caught a lot of attention. I don't know if I've read that story before.
I don't think I've heard that one before.
But that's pretty big that somebody died in pursuit of a UFO.
Okay, the next couple of ones I've got are very short, so I'll get those out of the way if you want to be looking at something and keep this going for a few minutes. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. This is Abnormal Alabama, and I think you've already figured out that we are abnormal. I am Kelsey, and that's Kevin over there with My Haunted Dolls. We try to do this. We got kind of kicked back to tonight. Kevin had a persistent cough.
Mm-hmm.
He refuses to get tested, so I refuse to be alone with him.
I got tested a while ago, but who knows how long that.
Actually, yeah, he was a little bit under the weather, but also in the middle of property and move and shifting to working at home and just all kinds of things going on. So we decided to do this on Friday night. If Kevin is up to it and would like to do this more frequently, since everybody's home and bored to death, we'll try. I'm up for trying to entertain people. Kevin, if you'd like to do this more than once a week, we could have something going, and maybe you could share some of your podcast, or that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with the packing coming up, I don't know how often I can still do this until that's done.
Okay.
I can't guarantee every night or.
You just let me know, and
okay.
We'll work it. Like I said, people got a lot of time on their hands right now, and except for you because we're moving.
Yeah.
Before I get started, let's do a little promoting real quick. We're into our last 27 minutes of the show. We haven't done much self-promoting here. I wish you'd quit coughing. You're making me nervous. I've now, as of today, caught up with his 11 books. I have 11 books of my own, and 2 or 3 of them are also in Kindle form. This is one of my favorites. It's called Dating the Dead, and it is delving into the stories of human interaction with the dead and our fascination with death. There's a name for it. It's called spectrophilia, and that is a term used for the phenomenon, one of Kevin's favorite words, phenomenon, of supposedly having alleged sexual encounters with strange beings. And so these are a compilation of stories that people have shared, and some history as far as some religious views on some of this. Even one culture up to today that still digs up their dead and dresses them and cleans them and spends a little bit of time with their corpses of their dead loved ones, rebuilds their caskets that they've dug up and reburies them. And this is kind of a ongoing thing with that culture. It's all in this book. and even someone that claims to have had sex with Bigfoot. Dating the Dead, you can learn about this at datingthedead.com. And all my books are either on amazon.com or lulu.com. It's Lulu. You can search within those my name and find those books. I don't have all my books in front of me, but I'm going to spend a minute. Of course, now we are into this subject, and now we get to look at Kevin's butt there. This is a book, and the information is obtained from the CDC, and it's a rundown on the factual things that we know about the coronavirus. Nope, taking the politics out of it, dealing with just the medical experts, and it's a good little book to have a good understanding of what we know about this virus, taking the politics and the theories and the spookiness out of it, just the facts. So that's what you've got here. And for us old folks, I did this one in big print. In part, there's a lot of people, older people that don't get on the internet. And if they'd like to have this information, this is an easy read, and it is supplied. All this information is supplied through the CDC. It's not made up either. This one I did before any of this stuff happened, and it's called the Practical Preparedness Manual. And just to give you an idea of what this is about, the subheading here is it's not a question of if a storm will come, only a question of where and when it will happen. This is just practical preparedness. Back in my grandmother's day, they didn't call it preparedness. They didn't call it prepping. They called it living. My grandmother used to open up her back door, go on her back stoop, and she was growing herbs there. And she plucked the herbs right out of the plant pots and used them. She raised chickens in the backyard. It's just a way of life. So that's kind of what this is, just a practical way of life. So you're always ready. You don't have to run down and stock up on toilet paper at the last minute, okay? So that's a good book. Now, the people that are always running scared of something bad happening to them, and they're into their guns, and, you know, they think there's always going to be an act of violence, and violence does happen. In fact, unfortunately, Birmingham and Jefferson County is one of the most violent places on earth right now. So fortunately, I don't live there, and Kevin doesn't either. But here's a book on practical self-defense. And you notice I use the word practical because I'm not a doomsdayist. I'm not an Armageddonist. Just practical things. You don't have to pull a gun on people. In fact, the best battle to be won is the battle that you avoided. Okay, so if you keep that in mind, you're always going to be a lot better, instead of always being of the mindset that you've got to, oh, there's going to be a fight. There don't have to be a fight. You can avoid it. But this is practical self-defense. I've got other books. You can find them on Amazon and Lulu. And in this particular time, unlike this fellow sitting next, no, he's not sitting next to me, on the screen next to me, I was in events and weddings, and that's come to a screeching halt. So selling these books is very important to me right now because my revenue is gone on that end. Kevin gets to work at home. His check keeps coming, so he should buy my books as well. I've got more books than this. I've got relationships books because I'm a facilitator for a program called SYMBIS. SYMBIS is an acronym for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And it's a good counseling session that I do with couples. And we do not have to do that counseling session in person. I facilitate that. We can do conference calls. And of course, we can do like Kevin and I are doing here. We can do it on the internet privately. And there's reviews written about what I do with that. You can find it. Just look for my name or go to my website, drkelsey.com, and you can see what couples have said about that program. I'm begging and pleading to for your participation in any of the things I do or any of the books I publish here. Now that I'm through with all that, turn it over to this coughing, hacking guy right here.
Oh, you're the hack.
I get this from you. I'd make a poor weatherman because I can't get it right. That's why I gave. That's why I gave. Yeah, And that's why James Spann gets the big money. He's got that down. Kevin, now it's your turn to self-promote. Talk about your stuff and that blood clickbait book you wrote.
Actually, if we got a few minutes after, I just found a recent UFO report in Hoover. We can.
Oh, we still got 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a short one, so it won't take a minute.
I still got a couple to share too. So
yeah,
we got plenty of time. 20 minutes.
But I'll hold up this scary little guy here. My Haunted Collection. That is the book that tells the stories behind the first haunted items I collected and how I got into this crazy field. And it's even got a ghost picture in here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the camera there, but there. Oh, maybe.
Looks like a ghost.
Here in the hallway, as I was doing an EVP session with one of the dolls, I heard little footsteps in the hallway. And I snapped a picture and captured that. You can kind of see it. You can get over here where I can point at it better. Looks like a little white wispy shape here, like a little girl wearing a dress. You can see the bottom of the dress down here. And it's like she's coming down the hallway toward me. You can see through. You can see the wall. And then there's an archway here going into my office and a guest bedroom there where I kept the dolls. That was actually the doll room up until now. But that was Robin. It was Robin's doll that I was doing the EVP session with. And it's the spirit of a little 3-year-old girl who died of heat exposure in the back seat of a car back in the 1960s. And she had her doll with her at the time. And that's the doll that I have now that's said to be haunted by her spirit. That's just one of many stories in here of my earliest experiences, including my first haunted doll, Patty. And if you like her story, I wrote a novel about Patty called Patty Doll. So check that out. But the most recent novel I wrote, Crimson, the Blood Painting. And when we said clickbait, Alabama, you think Crimson, you think Crimson Tide, but that's not what this is. It's a novel about an actual haunted painting in my collection that came from Salem, Massachusetts, that belonged to a practicing witch. And the story was just too good not to embellish on and create a nice big novel that's based on that painting and another painting I have. I kind of merged in there, but check that out. It's in paperback. And all these books, all of mine are in paperback and on Kindle, Amazon.com. And you can go to Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and find most of them. But what's really awesome, recently I got into audiobook. This book is also available on audiobook. If you don't like to read, but you're sitting at home stuck because of the coronavirus, go on Audible or Amazon or iTunes, and you can find Crimson the Blood Painting performed by the wonderful Lynn R. Thomas, a voice actress who worked out a great deal with me so I could get her services and have her do this, because I didn't think my voice would be nowhere near good enough for this. So she did an awesome job. Check that out. And also one of my other ghost books, Legends of Indian Narrows, Ghostly Childhood Memoirs, is out on audiobook. That's a book I published 5 years ago, but it's now on audiobook. And I narrated that one myself. I performed that one myself. So go out there and check it out. It's the ghost stories of my neighborhood where I grew up, where I spent my childhood up in West Jefferson, Alabama. So please check those out. And if you got ebook, it's all on Kindle. But I want to go ahead and share this little report I saw while Kelsey was talking. I looked on the National UFO Reporting Center. And on February 19th, 2020, there was a sighting here in Hoover that was reported. It was on February 19th, 2020 at 4:26 p.m. So it was probably just, I think we had a little more sunlight. It wasn't getting dark as early then, but his report was, or she, I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, this is in first person. Driving down Highway 150, saw a bright triangle with lights in the points and one extra in the middle of the back. sat still over the graveyard, sat still for about 15 seconds to a sharp left, flew over the car dealership and was gone. Flew straight up and was gone. I tried to get a video but was not able while driving. Wondering if anyone else saw it since it was 5 o'clock traffic. And that's the end of the report. So that's interesting. I haven't heard about that yet, but a triangle-shaped object with lights in the points and one extra in the middle of the back. That's pretty interesting. So I wonder if we'll ever hear any more about that. I forgot to mention my website, myhauntedDolls.com. If you want an autographed copy of my book, go ahead and check out myhauntedDolls.com, and I've got all of them posted out there before I forget to push that out there too. But yeah, that Hoover incident sounds interesting there. And it flew over a dealership. Maybe they were trying to buy a car or something.
Maybe they wanted to trade a UFO in for a car. For Kevin and I both, these books are available on Amazon.com. But for the paperback books, Kevin and I do a lot better if you buy the books directly from us. You're concerning me there. I'm going to send the people out to test you.
Every time here he comes. Hey,
Okay.
I was really thinking last night, but I've
But when you buy your books from us directly, go to our websites and purchase our books, we come out a lot better. Plus, we'll autograph the book for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. Buy the book wherever you want to. Thank you for patronizing what we do.
Yes.
And even though Kevin's kind of got it made, what he's doing right now, he would still like to be a full-time author.
Yeah.
And, I spent over a year trying to promote him, and I don't know. He just he needs to write some more books, I think. But you're gonna love that. That blood painting is it's an excellent book. All his books are good. So, but they are available on Amazon. I've even got some books at lulu.com, and you can go to our website. If you order again directly from us, we will autograph any of our books for you. We will make sure you get them. We'll get them to you quicker than Amazon will right now for sure. Amazon is real slow on shipping because of coronavirus. They've hadn't totally shut down, but they've slowed down a lot of their operation. I think that they're not even shipping non-essential items right now. I think any non-essential item is really slow. Now, of course, if you get one of our books on Kindle, which I think we both have books on Kindle, is that right, Kevin? And he has audio books as well. You get those instantaneously. You don't have to wait. So if you order the books from Amazon, it's going to be a slow to get them because of coronavirus. If you want the Kindle form, that's instantaneous. You get it, it's yours immediately, download, the same way with the audio books that Kevin's got. If you want any of our books, him and I both keep a limited stock on hand of most of our books, and we'll be glad to get it to you promptly and autograph it for you. And of course, we come out better if you buy directly from us, but we both don't have a warehouse full. We've only got limited copies. So if you want an autographed book and you want it directly from us, you better order quickly because it's not like we have a big stock room full of these books at home. So keep that in mind. Kevin's website again is myhauntedDolls.com. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on YouTube. And how many subscribers you got now?
Oh, let's see. All right, YouTube Studio. 980 subscribers, so it's kind of
20 subscribers. Help him out, people. My Haunted Dolls, Kevin Kane, YouTube. And of course, Abnormal Alabama on YouTube. I need subscribers too. We appreciate any support that you give either one of us. In my situation, I'm kind of in a desperate situation because this really knocked out events, which I was doing events, weddings, and so forth. And that's history right now. So I really need to sell some books. and other things as well. So Kevin's got another story you want to share? Did you have another story, or did you get it? Oh,
that one.
Okay. Well,
Share.
I've got a couple little bitty ones real quick I can share.
Okay.
If you know where Moundville is, which is the other side of Tuscaloosa, if you've been to Moundville,
Yeah.
okay. So
All right, but I know of it. I don't know if I've actually been out there. I know, but I know where it is. I know about it.
Okay, so I've been out there. I've actually done a wedding out there. But anyway, 1976, an anonymous witness told the Tuscaloosa News what he saw. The thing dropped out of the sky like a rock. Just when I thought I was about to be crushed, it pulled up just short. I looked up again, and a light as bright as the sun blinded me. Hayden Mountain. Hayden is north of Birmingham, north of Jefferson County, up in Blount County, not far off of Interstate 65 up there. 1977, a Mr. and Mrs. Terry White were driving toward their Blount County home with their children in the car when they spotted a 65-foot long craft. It had something coming out of the bottom of the object. It looked like pads. They were half the width of the object. That was in 1977. There's a lot of 1970s were big time for UFOs in Alabama. Back to Tuscaloosa in 1977, and this is the last one I've got, by the way, Kevin. A local teenager, Stuart Lewis, told the Tuscaloosa News, "What I saw then was beyond imagination. It was kind of a triangular shaped object with the shape of a pool rack. It had a deep yellow glow. It seemed like it was thrown out of an explosion. It was tumbling, but it was moving slowly on a line." That description is kind of funky, but anyway, that's all I've got in those. Have you found something else?
Yeah, another one this past December. The one I told about in Hoover, the guy saw the triangle shape with the lights on the corners and the central light in the middle, and that was in February. Well, now 2 months before that, December 30th, 2019. This was right at coming up on New Year's this past December. This was at 8:46 p.m. He says, "I was driving northbound," and this is in Madison, Alabama, by the way.
That's up by That's up by Huntsville.
I was driving northbound on County Line Road towards Highway 72 heading home. At first, I noticed the lights and thought it was from a water tower or something similar, such as an antenna. As I got closer, passing the public shopping center, the lights began to move in such a way that indicated the lights were rotating. I then turned into the parking lot close to the Redstone Federal Credit Union and immediately turned around to try to catch it on camera. The craft was triangle in shape based on the 3 white lights on the corners. There was also a red light which appeared to be on the bottom. It sped off and I could not catch up to it. And that's the end of that report. But that sounds exactly like the one in Hoover.
Yeah.
So I wonder, is this the same object that's scouring around?
And that one was last year?
Yeah, December 30th, 2019.
Oh, that's just, almost, right at the end of the year, yeah.
And then just in February, you got this guy in Hoover that saw an object matching that same description hovering near a dealership. So I'm wondering what's going on here. And these are here.
Give the shape of those craft again. What's the shape?
Okay, triangle shape. Let's see. Let me get back to where. Yeah, triangle in shape based on the 3 white lights on the corners. There was also a red light which appeared to be on the bottom. And then in Hoover, it says bright triangle with lights in the points and 1 extra in the middle of the back, which sounds similar to Madison.
Neither one of those fit the description of what I caught in the video 2 nights ago.
Uh-huh.
Mine was more like that one described in Ezekiel.
But I wondered if these two are reports were of the same object. This guy saw the same thing as the other guys. What I'm wondering.
Very close together in time too.
Yeah. And of course, Madison and Hoover got a great distance between them. Maybe it's looking for a problem somewhere.
For a UFO, it's not far.
No, that's not far.
If you come out, if you travel from Uranus to Alabama, a trip from Birmingham to Madison, Alabama is just a hop and a skip. So I think in UFO terms, that's not much of a travel. But anyway, it's a never-ending thing. And of course, you again with what we see on YouTube and whatnot, you have to filter this stuff out. The reason, I mean, the one I put up was on my cell phone, and it just raw. I just loaded it straight up from there because as I'm watching this, I'm thinking I want to pan around because I didn't want anybody suspicious that I was doing some silliness with the video. And so you gotta be careful. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of people that put some stuff out. I've seen some very obvious fake stuff out there. You can't even believe what they say about coronavirus. So, how can you believe everything somebody puts out? I've seen a lot of Bigfoot stuff that's just obviously nothing. It's made up stuff. A lot of people put out a lot of stuff that is supposedly a haunting, and you look at it and it's like not impressive. We did a show last year where we had two dolls sitting in front of us, and that video's still out there. The most profound things that happen when you're least expecting it.
Yeah.
We were talking about dolls. I wasn't thinking about these dolls being haunted. I wasn't certainly looking for them. Have they moved yet? And that just happened. And even Joe, who was streaming with us from Bristol, Tennessee, he's going, duh. And I was sitting next to you, and your whole demeanor changed. Just you didn't say anything immediately, but you were kind of like, So it's obvious something happened. Yeah. So I know you do a lot of EVP work. We got just a couple of minutes left here, Kevin. And you've shared some of that. Do you get a whole lot? I know you hadn't done that recently, but do you get a whole lot of positive results from that?
Yeah, I mean that spirit box. Yeah, I do tend to get a lot. I don't always capture something, but I get a lot of good responses from most of the object or the dolls and things I've tested out with. There's a couple of them out there that were live, 30-minute live videos I did. One on Facebook and one on YouTube, but they're both out on YouTube to watch, and people were commenting, and nothing about seeing the doll move, but you could hear responses from the spirit box. So the spirit box has been a really good thing. I've been lucky enough to capture some that were just flat out first class EVP without a spirit box. Mm-hmm. One of those being Patty. She's pretty good at that, but she can come to that spirit box too. That was my very first haunted doll, and she's one lucky enough that she's still here. She's got a crack on her leg, and I didn't want to put her in a
she's
container.
Got cracks on her leg.
A crack on her leg. And
are you got a meth house over there? Crack? What?
Crack in the porcelain, like when you crack glass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I thought you're not skinny enough to be a crackhead. So oh man. Well, we're down to our next minute as usual. I've enjoyed it. I hope anybody that watches this enjoyed it. A whole different show tonight because we talked about UFOs, and this got started because of an experience that I had a couple of nights ago, and I enjoy these stories.
Yeah, me too.
We usually do this on Tuesday nights. We decided to do it Friday night. Stay tuned on Abnormal Alabama, and I also try to put something on the YouTube channel on Facebook as well. And we'll see how things roll because Kevin is his situation. I'm hoping he can keep to join me, but I don't know if we'll be able to do it Tuesday or whether they're going to go back to Friday. One reason I'm thinking about Friday now is because nobody's going to be going out on Friday nights.
Yeah.
We could do it on Friday nights if that's availability to you. So we don't have to make that decision right now, but stay tuned, folks. Make sure you subscribe to the channels, and Kevin will keep his followers posted as well, I'm sure. And maybe we'll get to the weekend to see how things are stacking up, and then we kind of go from there to see if we want to do it on Tuesdays or Fridays or whatever. But I think Friday night would be a good night because nobody's going anywhere. It's dead out there.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we can entertain. We could do a midnight show. I don't care.
I'll be asleep probably, but
Yeah. Kevin's old. He has to go to bed early. It's 9 o'clock, folks. Join Kevin, myhaunteddogs.com. Join us, Abnormal Alabama, Facebook and YouTube. And thank you all for joining us. And Kevin, thank you. And I hope you have a great weekend.
and thank you. You too.
Good night.
Good night.